welcome back to the Leah Moses Entrepreneur Podcast. It is Monday, and every Monday we bring to you some new nuggets, new information about business, self-employment, passive income, entrepreneurship, those kind of things. And so today I just wanted to take a quick few minutes. It's Independence Day in Trinidad and Tobago, and for the first time in 58 years, we aren't able to have a parade ceremony and all that we usually do due to the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. So, it's a little bit different, but I know nonetheless people are still reflecting and posting as much as they can. All the patriotic pictures are out and so on. So, I don't want to take up too much of your time today, right? It's August the 31st, 2020. August 31st is our Independence Day in Trinidad and Tobago, right? But today I just wanted to jump in and speak about branding quite briefly, right? And it's important to brand. We are in 2020. We have a lot of businesses now. Those who can survive are transferring their physical business model into a more online model, or a model that can run hand in hand with online features, right? And so with that said, branding is becoming more and more important, because now you have a lot of businesses on the same internet, right? Competing, if you will, for your attention. And so only those who would have created a brand, built a brand, would really stick out and stand out, right? And I want you to think of yourself when you see somebody, or you see a business place advertise something. There are certain things that will naturally make you act, or that will naturally make you just ignore or skip if it's an ad, right? And so branding, personal branding, is what I'm really, speaking about. And I would tell each and every, business owner listening, if you have a business, start to have somebody as a face. If you don't want to do it, you need to have a face, a person, a real person, because you see, we're getting into high-tech businesses, right? It's high-tech, low-touch. And that simply means that you're going to have to be doing things over the internet. You don't get that person-to-person feel as much. And so one of the things you could do to combat that kind of cold, vibe, if you will, is to actually have a person that, people can see and relate to. People's personality, might resonate with your audience and so on. So you need to really, if you have a business, it's not just about hiding behind your logo and your business name anymore, but really having somebody, that the audience could feel like they know. You see, that's what happens in shows. If you sit down and you watch a series, a TV series or a movie, right? If you watch that TV series long enough, you may actually feel like you know the character, right? After you would have been following along, you actually get entwined. And that just reminds me of this recently concluded show, TV series by name The Greenleafs, right? People, when the season was done, the kind of reactions you have people after watching a show take to their social platforms to, express great sentiments, about the ending of the show, and about, following them for so long, and they feel like they are part of the family, right? And that's basically what the idea of what you want to do when it comes to branding. You want to have people connect on that kind of level, because we all know the same. People do business with those who they know, like, and trust. It's not really easy to know, like, and trust a random business name or a logo, right? And branding, colors, and so on. Yes, we have all the theories that, certain colors would make people feel warm and that kind of thing, but that's just piece of the pie. That's not the full picture, because we have people who don't adhere to brand colors, and they are highly successful at what they do, and they attract a lot of people to their business, right? So, get that face involved. And if you are actually building your personal brand directly, you're already not hiding behind a company logo or name, then some of the things I'm going to get into some of the things that you should be doing as part of building your brand, right? This is information that's free out there, and I'm just, of course, condensing some for you, non-scripted. So if I forget anything, please forgive me. You can also add what you would like to add as well, right? Depending on the platform you're listening to, you can send messages, or you can connect with me on my social medias at Leah CL Moses, and we can collaborate there, right? So moving on, personal branding. If you're building your personal brand, people need to know you. First of all, you need to decide, what do you want people to think of when they think of you, right? What do you stand for? So we have people, you might be a person, you want to motivate others. So in the minds of people, you want them to think of you as the motivator, the person to go to get that boost, to do what they have to do, right? A lot of people depend on that, whether it be in the mornings or sometimes it might be at the gym and so on. And so once you have that definite purpose, you might be into health. You might want people to know, hey, I am the go-to source, right, for health tips or for guidance in a particular area, right? So after you would have set out your goal, what you would like people to know you as, in my instance, my goal was to be is to be a business educator, helping Caribbean millennials, right, and millennials on the whole, to get entrepreneurial information, get opportunities that, especially for Trinidad and Tobago, get opportunities that you may not know applies to us here in the Caribbean, right? Ways in which you can make US currency if you're from here, Trinidad and Tobago, or the Caribbean, right? These are the kind of things I want people to think of, in terms of think of me. So you need to set a goal and know what you really want to portray. When you have done this, you have to bring value in that field. But of course, it's important to note, you're not just only, of course, if you're building a brand, more than likely you have something to sell. So it's not just about only posting things about buy my product, buy my course, buy my ebook. It cannot just be about that. It's all about providing value within your space, within your field. And also, not just that, you're a person, you're not a robot, and it's not a robot you're trying to have as an audience, right? So, from time to time, you can actually put some light posts in there. You can be all about health, but you can also post a little motivational something every now and again, to have people engage with that, let them know you are human too, right? Some people may tell you, depending on your preferences, of course, you can even share certain things, not everything, of course, but you can share certain things about your family life, have people, it's just to get people to understand that, hey, I am a human too, and so on. And so we find a lot of professionals, they might be in one field, you might be into real estate, but then you might have some posts every now and again when you whip up your favorite dish, right? You may also have a little talent in the kitchen, and so you can share these real life things with your audience to, again, build that trust, build that the know factor in the know, like, and trust, right? You can do all these things to build. You don't only want to just be selling. So that's something to note. Another thing to note in terms of you building your brand is that you need to be searchable. You need to be discoverable on the platforms that your people are. So we are talking Google. That by extension, we are talking possibly YouTube. We are talking the major social platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. Now, get what I'm saying? It's not about rushing to try to dominate each platform. But at least what some people do, right? At least what I would have done is that I don't try to build all the platforms. However, I do have a presence on all those that I would have just called out. Of course, if your brand name could be consistent over all platforms, even better. So that way, when somebody goes to Google and puts your name in the search bar, you have things coming up. That builds credibility, right? Depending on who you are targeting, that builds credibility, that hey, people know you can be found, there's information on you. Of course, in addition to these social platforms, you may want to be looking into having your own website, right? There are a whole ton of benefits in terms of having your own website, which is your own platform. You cannot be banned from your own platform. You can state what you want. Sometimes, right now as we speak, all around the world, there are people who have their accounts banned, from Facebook, or you can't post something for a particular period of time, and that can keep back your brand if you have things to do, And when you're building your brand, you have to have that constant presence throughout the day on social platforms. So I guess with your website, it is definitely a better option as it's your own, right? Nobody to ban you. You make the rules and you decide what you type, how you type it, etc., etc. Right? So you would want to look into having that, but you need that presence. At least get your handle or your name established on these networks. Now, if you cannot get the same name or the name in the same way or format over all platforms, that's okay. But you would need to be very specific about it, right? And as I say that, I'm thinking of Linktree. All right, Linktree is this platform that allows you to have your different links all in this one link. So you can get your one. More than likely, you will get your brand name with Linktree, and within there, you can have different links with a caption of what the link is. So you can have my Instagram page, my website, my YouTube channel, my podcast, etc., using just this one Linktree link, right? So if your name isn't consistent, then I would suggest go that way so that you can have you can still have people discover you on the other platforms. Remember, people aren't on every platform. And there are certain age groups as well that will resonate better with different platforms, right? So that's just the quick point. Make sure to be discoverable and searchable to build your credibility. That is very important when building a brand. You don't want to have people think, well, okay, who are you? You just popped up and you're trying to get my money. That's how people look at things, right? So you need to get that. And as far as content goes, this is where this would be my last point on branding for today. In terms of the content and the frequency of content, what I like to do is, the algorithm changes so much, right, on social media platforms, be it Instagram, Facebook. So especially Instagram, right? And all that simply means is something that may have worked 2 months ago to get you a lot of followers and likes and attention on your posts may not work today. Something that might have been working last week might not work today. So I encourage people, first off, to get into the habit of following people who give information, provide value, even especially for free, like via YouTube. Get following people who teach Instagram. Right? You can just go into the YouTube search bar and type how to get more followers on Instagram, or how to beat the algorithm for Instagram in 2020, and you will find the people who are giving out value, and you could obviously evaluate which person you would like to follow. Like there's a person, an influencer right now on social media that she gives a lot of value. I've learned a lot of things from her. I'm still learning. By the name of Vanessa Lau. That's Lau, Vanessa Lau. I hope I'm pronouncing it correct, but she gives value for Instagram. So I am a person, I would usually check out her content on YouTube or check out her Instagram itself, just to see what things may have changed. Now that's one. And beside that, just having the general knowledge in terms of like your Instagram, there are certain platforms. All I would say is there are certain platforms that may require you to post a certain number of times per day. Some might be 1 post per day, some might be up to 3 times per day. And then of course, when you have Instagram with stories, it's encouraged to also post several stories throughout the day on your Instagram, right? So in terms of your content, I really urge you to, I don't want to say something now because this podcast will be on the internet forever, right? So I don't want to say something now specific and then by tomorrow or by next week the algorithm changes. What I would like to say is keep consistent with the people who are literally doing that as a business. They are literally researching and learning the platforms and bringing that value, right, to you. And a lot of the value, as I said, if you don't have the budget at the moment, a lot of the value could be found for free on places like YouTube, and from these influencers who would more than likely also have an Instagram page. There's also a technique whereby you can search your field. When you're building your brand, you can go in the search field and hashtag and search. So let's say you're into nutrition. You can hashtag nutrition, you can hashtag nutritionist, and look for there are two tabs when you search something. There's the top posts in the particular area, and there are the recent posts. You need to be focusing on the top posts in that field. Look at them. Look at the type of content it is. Look at the caption, and look at the feedback that you are getting. And so now you are able to now tweak your message, right? Don't just take it as it is, depending on what it is, of course. If it's just a meme or some random picture, by all means. But if it's somebody's specific post, you can see how you can take that and make it your own, in other words, right? And be able to tap into the same kind of traction that person would have tapped into. And you have to kind of study the people that consistently make the top posts, the top 10 posts, I should say, right? And mimic that in terms of your branding on social media. Of course, as well, places like Facebook, where organic reach, or the naturally just posting something and have a lot of people discover it. Organic reach is almost at zero, right? Compared to your followers, not everybody see what you have, and so a lot of people would show you that you may need to really be doing some sponsored ads. Of course, again, you can get information on sponsored ads off of YouTube, how to do them effectively, not just about click boost posts to everybody 18 to 65 in your country. There are certain things to learn to get the best out of your campaign, right? Because you don't want to just waste off your campaign money, right, targeting everybody who may not be interested in what you have to offer, right? So that's something important to note. But beside that, in terms of you building your brand in your field, one of the other things that you should be doing is looking for groups within your niche, within your area of expertise or interest, and be a part of these groups. Be able to provide value. Be a part of the conversation. If you're on Twitter, you can also search that particular topic, that particular interest and field, and be a part of the conversation. Twitter is a place where you need to be a part. It's not so much about, especially when you're not now starting out with Twitter, it's not so much about just you posting your own tweets and having thousands of people come to you, right? What you may have to start off doing is simply joining the conversation of people who already have the type of the kind of followers or the numbers of followers that you desire to have, and being a part of the conversation as other people see you providing good value and interesting sides of the story or whatever, more information, additional information, however, right, as we call it, value. Then from that value provision, you will then in turn attract followers, right? That's called taprooting your mentor's followers, basically. And it's not unethical to do such. You are providing your value so that you let people know that, hey, I also have some information, in this space. So it's really just those few points. I don't want to take this podcast too long today. And we're just about the 19-minute mark, and I think that's enough for today. I would like to hear any feedback that you have, about branding, anything you have done, anything you are currently doing that you are successful at doing. And it's just about really being consistent, right? You have your defined purpose, you know what you want people, and don't go straying. If you are into health and wellness, you don't need to be focusing on crime and these kind of things as your posts, right? You want to stay as consistent as possible with the sprinkle of relatable posts, something nice, something, some people give thanks, they have up nice Thanksgiving posts and so on. So just kind of as we say, make it a little light, right? You don't always have to be heavy on business, right? True, that doesn't work, right? Because everybody's trying to just do that. So you need to be personable, have a personality, they call it the brand personality, right? So you may be fun, you may be somebody who is just, depending on your feel, it might just be you being very articulate, So these are the kind of things you should be tapping into when it comes to building your brand. Thank you for tuning into the podcast again today, and see you next week for the next one.